LLMs are trained for helpfulness, meaning that they want to give you the answer as fast as possible. This means the most important thing is closing the chat loop. They don't want to maintain your AWS account for the next 3 years. This means you have a shortcut culture. Without specific instructions, the LLM will always take the path of least resistance. It will use latest for all your SDK versions, and it will use the default VPC for everything. It's optimized for Hello World that will run on the first try. It's not optimized for running on production for the next 3 years. So by default, there's a lot of illusion of productivity because you feel like a 10x engineer, but you also automated the creation of technical debt. What does that mean for Terraform? For example, vanilla AI really hates to create directories. It will try to dump a lot of your resources into a single file and a single directory. This is a death sentence for modularity and also team collaboration. It also loves to skip the boring but very critical metadata. This means no tagging policies, zero resource description, and also generic variable names. It passes the plan but fails your organization's governance. Also, for the AI, make it work mostly means make it wide open. So you will see all allow security policies or IAM permissions which are just marked with action. The AI doesn't want to deal with permission errors or access denied errors while it's deploying your infrastructure to AWS. So now to the good news. There's a Claude skill that will help you to solve all of these problems easily. It's called the Terraform skill and it's created by 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝘀. Think of this skill like a senior architect that's sitting between you and Claude Code. This isn't just a random prompt library. It's a production-hardened experience of Anton, the guy which modules for Terraform have been downloaded hundreds of millions of times. And with this skill, you're giving Claude Code his brain. In the end, it will shift the AI's persona. It moves from being an everything engineer to a Terraform and infrastructure pro. To understand why this skill is a game changer, we have to look under the hood. As I mentioned before, it's not just a collection of prompts. It's a 4-pillar framework that transforms our general purpose AI into a Terraform expert architect. Let's break down the mind map to see what's going on inside the skill. First up, we have the engine. This is the heart of the skill. Most AI tools stop after generating your code. But here, Claude will follow a strict engineering loop that consists out of the init, validate, plan phases of Terraform. It not only handles automated formatting with Terraform format, but it's also very aware of your state. It knows that your state file is the source of truth. And it will treat it with the respect the production environment deserves. When we move over to the right, we have the standards or the guardrails. This is where we kill the least effort problem. It will enforce modularity by default. This means no more giant monolithic main files. It also applies industry best practices, for example for tagging or for naming conventions. In the end, you will receive prod-ready infrastructure. It's secure by design, properly named, and built for a huge team and not for a solo developer. Down to the bottom right, we find the expert brain. This is the intelligence layer. With this, Claude really gains Terraform expertise, so it's able to understand even complex or nested for each loops or dynamic blocks, where most basic LLMs will struggle. It also gains a lot of provider logic, so it knows the quirks not only of AWS, but also of GCP and Azure. The real secret with all of this, it's really forcing anti-hallucination. This skill forces Claude to work with the real documentation and with proven patterns. Finally, we have the integrated stack. This is Claude's professional workbench. Claude doesn't just think that a code is good, but it hires the best tools in the industry to prove that it's good. So for example, it will use tflint to prove the syntactical correctness that goes well beyond just syntax highlighting. It will also trigger tfsec to run security checks right in the engineering loop. It will even pull in infra cost, which will give you real-time insights into the costs that you will add with each changed infrastructure. When we combine all of these 4 pillars, we will get a completely different workflow. After showing you how to install the Claude Code skill, I will show you the results of a really simple comparison between not using the skill and using the skill. So how do we install the skill? Basically, it's very simple. We can either use the marketplace or we can just clone the whole repository into the right directory. With Claude Code, this is simply in your home directory, the .claude/skills folder. Let's do exactly that. My preference is installing the skill into my home directory, because when we do that, I can simply decide when the skill is used and when it's not used, because we explicitly have to call the skill. If we're using a plugin, we have the marketplace, the skill will be by default always active. So if Claude is working with Terraform, it will always rely on the rules from Anton. I've already copied the command to clone the repository into my home directory, so I will just give it a go. Now that the cloning is done, we can simply start Claude Code and check if the skill is available. So I will type in cc, because this is my alias for Claude, and we will check if the command is available by just typing in /terraform. And we will already see that the skill is available and we can just use it. As mentioned in the beginning, I've already ran a sample prompt that will help us to compare the results and see why they are fundamentally different. The example prompt looks like this. Create a Terraform module for an S3 bucket and set up a testing strategy including native tests and a GitHub Actions CI pipeline with cost estimation. And these are the results. On the left, we have the plain version, not using the skill. On the right, we have the version that actively used the skill from Anton. At a first glance, the folder structure looks very similar. For example, we can see the modules S3 bucket on the right. We can also see the modules S3 bucket on the left. It also looks like that the file structure is really similar. We can see in our S3 bucket module the main.tf, the outputs.tf, the variables and the versions. We can see almost the same on the skilled version on the right. But if we dive into the details, we will see that the results are very different. The first thing we can look at is the module flexibility and configurability. On the non-skilled version on the left, we can, for example, see that the public access is always blocked. We have no flexibility in configuring if we want to open it or if we don't want to open it. On the skilled version, we can see that all of this is bundled into variables. The next thing we can look at is the project structure. On the non-skilled version, for example, the tests are not directly located inside the module. On our skilled version, the tests are directly in our module. This follows the best practices from HashiCorp. We can also see that the skilled version is providing a complete and a minimal example, which is also a community standard. For the test itself, we can see that the skilled version differentiates between integration tests, so with real AWS resources, and unit tests with mocked resources, which provide a faster feedback loop. On the left one, the non-skilled version just has one file, which is named S3 bucket TF test. This means the skilled version has a better separation of concerns, which is also really important. If we jump into the GitHub Actions, we can see that the non-skilled version is not using any tflint. On the skilled version, we can see that it's installed and used properly. Moreover, we can see that the non-skilled version not even created a linting file, like the skilled version did. If we look at the code patterns, we can also see some minor advantages of using the skilled version. So for example, all of the outputs are wrapped into the try function. This means if we, for example, pass a 0 count into the number of buckets we want to create, the right one wouldn't fail the whole Terraform plan or apply. On the left one, everything would fail. Security-wise, we can also see some differences. So on the left non-skilled version, we can see that we can even pass a parameter encryption enabled and set it to no. On the right one, this is just not possible because by default, the bucket will always be encrypted. We can also see that we can pass an explicit configuration for the encryption. This was just a small outtake and not all the differences between the skilled and non-skilled version. In the end, it drills down to these 7 differences. As mentioned in the beginning, the skilled version has a better configurability. Also, the skilled version comes with a better module structure. So, as we've seen, the tests are located where they have to be located. It also has a much stronger validation, meaning we will catch errors at the plan and not at the apply time. The skilled version also comes with a separation of concerns. So we can decide when and where we will run the unit tests and when we will run the integration tests. In our case, the integration tests will just run on the main branch in the CI/CD. The skilled version also built a much stronger CI/CD pipeline. This means we will execute the battle-tested tools like tflint within the pipeline to force a stricter validation. The skilled version also comes with minor advantages like making sure everything is null safe and with better documentation enforcement. So what's the summary of this video? Generally, we want to have quality over speed. This means we don't just want to write Terraform faster. We want to write it once. The goal is zero refactor AI code. So my call to action is don't let your AI ship least effort infrastructure code. So go to Anton's repository, clone the skill and use it. It will bridge the gap between an AI tool that knows almost everything but doesn't create reliable code to a real Terraform expert. Thank you for watching this video. If you're new to AWS, don't forget to visit our infographics section on awsfundamentals.com. Here we will teach you the fundamentals of all the AWS core service in a visual way. Thank you and see you next week.